thanking the Institute for giving me an opportunity to come here, share my views. Not that I'm coming here for the first time. One has been here and it's always a delight and a pleasure to come and interact with your very stable faculty, as we will say. So, my panel members here, and the morning talk was completely mesmerizing, I would say. So the kind of inputs we got on contemporary management practices and what would be the opportunities and challenges in times to come, I'm sure would have been a good learning experience for our students here. Sessions like this, I'm sure your students here need to look beyond what is being discussed or talked about here. So there are various issues which are thrown up, and as young students and as prospective leaders, one would want you to take the learning from here and put it to practice wherever you are working. What I would try and do here is give you a little perspective of the management practices in terms of the financial perspective. Since this happens to be my area, I would give you a little perspective on what are the opportunities, challenges, future outlook in the area of finance, and if we were to look ahead, what would be the important touch points, as we would say. Would I have somebody to move, or could you do it for me? I am not so just put on the first slide. Yeah. I would start by taking a little cue from the morning lecture. There is thing, in fact, when I was listening to the morning, talk, a thought occurred to me which said, leading through uncertainty. Since we are living in an environment which is uncertain, and every day there are new challenges which are thrown, what should be the strategy which we need to adopt in an environment which is uncertain and which would probably force us to think, you could say, out of the box, or you could say an innovative approach, or an approach which is a little different from the traditional path which we have been following. If I talk about the financial services sector, the financial services sector has been one sector which has been through a roller coaster ride in the last few years, especially the kind of events we witnessed in terms of, I could say, a subprime crisis, or let me put it as the worst crisis after the depression of the 30s. In fact, no other crisis after the depression of the 30s has affected all of us so much as the present crisis. In fact, it has woken all of us and forced us to think, where have we gone wrong? And as it is always so, we would say, who was responsible for the crisis? Why I'm trying to mention the financial services sector is, this is one sector which has really been impacted by the crisis. The kind of growth which the sector witnessed just before the crisis and immediately after the crisis, that is something which forces us to think as to why the services sector was impacted so hugely after the crisis. Now, if the financial services sector, has been impacted, and this after the kind of reforms that the sector has witnessed in the last few years, what would be, the kind of futuristic outlook which we could suggest for this particular sector. Now, the financial services sector, if you were to go into a little more details, we would find that the banking sector occupies an important place in the financial services sector. And this forces us to think that if we are thinking about opportunities and challenges, is traditional banking dead? So, do we change our outlook completely? Or do we say, no, traditional banking is not dead, but we make a few innovations and changes and then move ahead with, whatever was the role in the traditional banking. So the perspective here is that the new system, as it will evolve, will have the traditional banking role and it will have the modern banking role, which would mean that the two would be complementing each other. This is one learning which has happened. In fact, I am also reminded of, in the last few years when the whole perspective of the banking sector changed, and now, we would very proudly say, oh, our banking is 24/7 or probably something more than that. One of the chairperson of a bank was asked to comment in a particular interview. Can you just sum up how the banking sector has changed in the last few years? And would there be something to look forward to for the banking sector in times to come? It was very aptly, I would say, explained in 3 words, which said that the banking sector has changed from a lazy setup to a, like an arm, actually the right words were from an armchair banking to lazy banking to crazy banking. So, what is our banking sector? And that will be the opportunity and challenge both, because an opportunity doesn't come without a challenge. And even in the last 3-4 years when we talked about the crisis, a famous line which was read in all articles was, an opportunity or a crisis is an important time to reposition yourself. Why are we saying that? Because a crisis has given us an opportunity to rethink. And I would say that in the present context, though I would talk about a few more things here, but an important opportunity and challenge for the financial services sector in times to come would be survival strategy through a downturn, leading through uncertainty, risk management, and the most important, conformity to international best practices. And the conformity to international best practices would come about, if we talk about the banking sector, in terms of the Basel norms. The important point, if, again I go back to the crisis. In the last crisis, why was our banking sector left untouched? The banking sector was not really impacted by the crisis the way the other sectors were. And the important reason for this was the very reason we were criticizing our banks earlier. We were criticizing our banks by saying they are over-regulated. We have, ensured that they follow all the Basel norms, whether it is capital adequacy ratio, whether it is, the risk management, or it is, taking care of, the NPAs, or, all other things in terms of their balance sheet. Now, these were the very reasons our banks were a little more, they could take care of the kind of scenario which was witnessed at that point of time. And more important here, the whole banking structure has changed from a public sector bank to a private sector bank to the set of foreign banks. So if I were to ask you today, which bank would you bank with? Would you care whether it is a public sector bank or a private sector bank or a foreign bank? Absolutely not. You would say, please answer one question. And what is that question? Is that bank efficient or not? My concern is, would my savings be safe in this bank? So this whole concept of public sector banks are not efficient, the private sector banks are not efficient. No, there have been various studies. In fact, we have also done studies on the three banks across, and there is nothing which suggests that the private sector banks or the public sector banks lag in terms of efficiency. You know, our general mindset was in terms of the public sector banks being lagging in terms of efficiency. So the opportunities and challenges here would come from conforming to the best practices, conforming to the international norms. If I go back a little to the crisis once again, you know, the crisis has been an important learning, and I would say important lessons have been learned. And I'm also reminded of, you know, after the crisis, there was an important conference at the Wharton Business School. And the conference at the Wharton Business School, they're trying to work out, because ultimately it will be students like you who are going to be heading the different organizations. So how do we train our students to adapt to different circumstances, to adapt to a changed scenario, to ensure that, you are able to take a decision on the basis of, let me put it as a very, very changed scenario. And one thing which was emphasized even at the school, and something which emerged as something like a consensus, was we need to put a little more focus on risk management. And the risk management part is something which has to be taken care of. Now, what is risk and how am I going to look at risk is probably going to be different if I move across different functional areas. So if I am going to look at the financial perspective, my looking at risk will be, okay, I have to look at it from the bank's perspective, and from the bank's perspective, there are 2 or 3 kinds of risks which are important. If I go to the other functional areas, probably the whole meaning of risk would change. But if I come back to the banking sector, then, the 2 risks, in fact, would be, which are being emphasized a lot now, are in terms of the interest rate risk, the liquidity risk, which talk about efficient management of the balance sheet. The other learning which has come up after the crisis, has been the Dodd-Graham-Frank Wall Street Act. If I take you back to the Enron and the other scandals which have happened, each scandal has, let me not even put it as scandal, maybe that is not the right word. Each of them have been a good learning experience, So we had the Sarbanes-Oxley Act earlier. In fact, now, after the crisis, President Obama himself in 2010, he has tried to look at the Dodd-Graham-Frank Wall Street Act, wherein they are trying to, devise ways and means. And if I were to sum up, in fact, the act is still not complete. There are parts which are still being decided. But one part, in fact, if I were to, as I was saying, if I were to just define the act, or I would say what the act is all about, it says it's a new Consumer Watchdog Act. they would not want, the way, the industries collapsed, and the way, the subprime crisis, what all impacted. They would not want the economy to go through, all that again. So the Consumer Watchdog Act, which is being drafted, will take care of the kind of changes which get built into the system. And the present environment is an environment of uncertainty. So you can't say, okay, these were the kind of scenarios which were existing, and I would like to continue with the existing scenario. Can I move on this a little so that I could? Yeah. How many? Yeah. Okay. The other perspective, in fact. Okay. Okay. Let me go without the presentation now. There are two more perspectives which I would like to emphasize here. One is the whole perspective of the credit rating agencies, and arising from this, what has been the learning and how the whole process has gone forward. Okay. In terms of the role of the credit rating agencies, are you moving it, or can I go still further? I would just like to bring it to the, I'll just keep it here. In terms of a few opportunities and challenges for the services sector, I just listed out a few challenges which do represent the very core of challenges which would be faced by, the financial services sector, and, how each of these issues are handled would determine the role of the organizations in times to come. One can talk a lot about each of these, whether it's corporate governance, or it is, the Basel norms, or the transparency wherein we are all emphasizing, or we could talk about the corporate social responsibility. Let me just talk about, as I said, the two important dimensions here: the credit rating agencies and the asset liability management, which has become important for the services sector. Can I move on to the slides? Yeah. Just move on. Okay, just move on. Just come to the issues part. No, further. Yeah. The credit rating agencies, what we need to understand or appreciate or be a little more aware of is, the kind of expectations we have from the rating agencies. I do remember even when we had the Asian crisis, and there are various, the international credit rating agencies like your S&P and a Fitch and a Euromoney. Each one of them is trying to rank and rate countries. And I do remember that Euromoney does a lot of rating, and it, does a very detailed rating, wherein they talk of economic factors, political factors, environmental factors, social factors. And even at that time, when the crisis happened sometime in October, November 1997, there was an issue of Euromoney which had come, which had given a very safe kind of ranking to the Asian countries. And what happened was an embarrassment after that, wherein the issue was withdrawn and they came up with a revised rating. So, if it is a case of a reactive rating, as was being emphasized, and not a proactive rating, which is what the expectations are, then how do you take care of a scenario or a situation like this? In fact, this is also what is being emphasized, and what is being said by the Securities and Exchange Commission in the US is that as a result of the rating, wherein a lot of investors lost their money, they have now said that you make the whole rating process accountable. Even if you have seen in India when the rating comes out by the Indian credit rating agencies, whether it is a CRISIL, ICRA or a CARE or any of the private credit rating agencies, it says we are not, at your own risk. So, or the technical term they use is, it is merely an opinion. So the change which has happened now is that you are trying to make them responsible. The whole rating thing became important in India way back in 91 after the famous Lloyd Finance controversy, wherein a lot of investors lost their money. So if the same kind of scenario is being now repeated at an international scale, you need to say, because otherwise the international credit rating agencies were getting away by saying that no, it is an opinion. And if you had followed a little after the crisis, there was a complete silence from the agencies. It was a complete silence, which means no agency came forward, and which in a little more technical terminology we explain it as a no first mover advantage. So if I were to ask a question here, probably I would not have many raised hands, by the students. But if I were to say no, this is a part of your internal assessment or this is a part of your grading, we all get up. Oh, it's a part of my grading. No, I better be a little more careful. So the same logic is being used by the regulatory authorities. So SEC says, in fact, SEC has sued Standard & Poor for the losses they have suffered. And if you have seen the latest kind of guidelines, Standard & Poor, what they have started doing now is, when they are rating, they are trying to do a stress testing. A stress testing would mean that they do a scenario analysis. So worst case scenario, a best case scenario, if the rates go up or if the trends go down, what would be the situation? So this is one area which needs to be closely watched, and this is one area which I find is I would say completely researchable area. The role of the credit rating agencies, an area where we can give a lot of our students projects, because you say, okay, what is the role of corporate governance in rating? What is the role of CSR in rating? What is the role of board committees in rating? Now all these are dimensions which are being added. So let us not look at credit rating agencies as something which doesn't concern us. It has got a lot of impact into related areas, which is ultimately going to impact the whole system as it operates. I'll briefly just talk upon the other area which I thought was a little more relevant, which is the area of asset liability management for banks, which talks about moving away from just managing the liability side to both the sides. So they say, no, what you need to do is manage the assets, manage the liabilities, and manage the spreads, which is the net interest margin. So how do you manage both sides of the balance sheet? And for this, banks have in place the asset liability management committee, they have the risk management committee, and it is like a continuous process which is happening. And it is in this context when I was mentioning about the risk management. So the whole sector has moved away from simple credit risk to liquidity risk, to interest rate risk, to foreign exchange risk, and so on and so forth. So now this whole exercise which is being done by the banks is on a day-to-day basis. So it's not that you say, okay, I mean, we look at it after a week. They'll say, no, we have to look at our profile of the liabilities on a day-to-day basis. And it is this which I'm sure, I don't know if some of you have looked at the balance sheet of the banks in the last few years. Apart from the normal, they are also giving another information which is called the rate sensitive assets and the rate sensitive liabilities, and which has been made mandatory for all the banks. And that is where there is a lot of learning also which has happened. Then there are a lot of techniques which the banks are trying to adapt, which will, I would say, help them to move forward. Let me stop now because we have to listen to the paper presentation. Let me say it has been a good learning experience, and I'm sure the students would take a cue from a conference like this on a very contemporary and important area. Thank you so much for your patience.